going to pre-assemble the reverse gear cluster, and these are all the pieces to it here. So you've got this piece here, and there'll be got to put the needle bearings in the middle here on this, and then there's a short spacer on this side, long spacer this side, then this thrust washer like thing, and the slider that actually engages the gear, and the reverse fork, which that actually won't get assembled, pre-assembled. And then here's another gear, and this will have 2 rows of needle bearings, so a spacer in the middle and then a spacer on the end. And put that inside there. Nice good coating of it to hold those needle bearings in. And then just going to start to put the bearings in. And basically go around in a circle. I'll put some more grease on top of these to help hold them in. So I got all the needle bearings in. That assembly lube is really nice. It's really like glue. I can't imagine just trying to do this with like wheel bearing grease. So I've got them all in here, and now what I'm going to do is take that spacer that goes on the back, and I'm just going to put this in here and just even up all the bearings. Okay. And then I'm going to take the shaft and just make sure that the shaft does fit in here. There we go. So that's all set. Okay. Then I'll put the thin spacer in on this side. And that should push everything back to the right spacing. There we go. I'm going to put a little grease on there. Hold it in. So we'll put the bearings in this cluster here, and this actually takes 2 rows of the same size bearings. There's 44 bearings. Make sure you count them out and divide them up into stacks of, or groups of 22 each, because you need to put 22 in, then one of these spacers, then the other 22. Like with the other cluster, I put the assembly lube in there, and I got my bearings counted out into two piles, and then just start sticking them in here. Tell you what, it seems like the last one won't fit, like there's not enough room. You just got to tuck the bearings over, and then the last one you can't just set in, you have to kind of slide it in from the end. And if you do that, my fingers are in the way here, you slide it in from the end, it should stay in there. Whoops, I got one that's out. There we go. And then just push them all down in against the cluster, the inside diameter, and they're in there. Okay, so now need to get some of this grease out of here that got pushed around, and then I'm going to take one of these spacers, and that's going to get pushed in here like that. You can see. Okay, so that's going to go against those bearings. So that's the one row. So now I'm going to grease this up and put in the next row, the other 22 bearings. Alright, so here we go. We got the 2 rows of bearings in there. I know it's hard to see, but it's a row of bearings, spacer, row of bearings, and then the small spacer here. So how this kind of sub-assembly goes together is you have this, I don't know what this is called, shifting ring, I guess. It needs to go with, there's beveled edges on these teeth, and you see mine are kind of beat up. This is for reverse. Reverse is not synchronized. If this was not a reverse gear, I would probably, or ring, I would probably replace this, but it's reverse, I'm not too worried about it. That needs to go along with these angled teeth, because that's how you shift this thing, so those angled teeth will align will align the gears. So we have a small spacer on this side, row needle bearings, large spacer here. This thrust washer thing or whatever goes in here. I'm gonna put a little bit of that assembly lube on here just to kind of make sure that it stays on there. So it goes on here like that, okay? And then the shifting ring thing goes on here on this cluster. Sure it does. There we go. Okay. Again, with those angled teeth, you can tell there's a thick flange and a thin flange. The thin flange goes towards the other assembly. So then all this is going to go together like this with the shaft in the middle. So let's see how successful I am. Get the shaft in without the needle bearings falling out. I'll tell you what, let's do these one at a time. Okay, so that one's through. There is a thrust washer that's going to go on here that's in the case. All I'm doing is pre-assembling this. The shaft is going to have to come back out to get this assembled in the case, but I just want to get all the needle bearings and everything together. So then this ring goes on here, and this guy, which we've already put through here, goes in, push the shaft through, and there we go. So that's a reverse gear cluster. Again, there's like a thrust washer that goes on this side and a thrust washer on this side that go in the case, and we'll put those in when we actually put this cluster in the case.